My name is not problem in case to be managed. My name is not lazy, dependent welfare mother. My name is not ignorant, dumb, or uneducated. I live with income of $621 with $169 in food stamps. Rent is $585. That leaves $36 a month to live on. I am such a genius at surviving that I could balance the state budget in and out. Never mind that there's a lack of living wage jobs. Never mind that it is impossible to be the sole emotional, social, and economic support for a family. Never mind that parents are losing their children to the gangs, drugs, stealing, prostitution, social workers, kidnapping, the streets, the predator. Forget about putting money into the schools. Just build more prisons. My name is not lay down and die quietly. My love is powerful, and my urge to keep my children alive will never stop. All children need homes and people who love them. They need safety and the chance to be the people they were born to be. The wind will stop before I let my children become a statistic. Before you give in to the urge to blame me, the blames that let us go blind and unknowing into the isolation that disconnects us, take another look. Don't go away, for I'm not the problem but the solution, and my name is not those people. Her name is Julia Dinsmore. She's a poet from Minneapolis who gives voice to the identity and the expectations that were placed upon her during her struggles of homelessness and years of poverty. So many times bearing an identity that others place on you can seem like a harmless thing. Jennifer and I were reflecting the other day about those senior high times. I don't know if you've had those where you were voted most likely to succeed, or she was Miss Neatness. I got most quiet. That was my tag, and I didn't realize how much of that was my personality, that it was unanimous. And when they announced the category, everybody chanted my name. It's intense. But it can also shape the expectations that can affect how others react to or engage you or avoid you. Identity and expectations. Who do the people say I am? Who do you say I am? Jesus asks. Who do the people of the world say Jesus is? So often it's affected by those who you run into and claim his name. We recently had a county clerk in Kentucky express her faith by denying others for the sake of Christ. But this week we also heard from the head of the Roman Catholic Church, who challenged the 120,000 parishes in Europe to welcome one refugee family from their homeland. Kim Davis and Pope Francis both identify Jesus as Messiah. But the expectations are very different. Their lives of faith reflect very different identities of Jesus to others and have the power to shape how people hear and what they expect from Jesus. The people in this morning's gospel connect Jesus to his actions, to the work of John the Baptist or Elijah. Maybe he's a prophet. They have seen and heard of the cleansing, the raising of the dead, the healings, the feedings. And their responses to who Jesus is are pretty sensible to anyone trying to figure out who this guy is. Through their answers, the gospel writer connects us and draws us back specifically to John the Baptist, to remind us of what happened to him in his beheading as he faced the consequences of the powers that be for what he had done. We give a telling of what is to come for Jesus. But Peter calls Jesus the Messiah. And we hear this stern response to not tell anyone. But Jesus calling Jesus the Messiah in this response, if you turn to Matthew's version, we get this. Jesus doesn't cut him off right away. Jesus, in fact, embraces him, saying that all of this, for the flesh and blood, has not been revealed to you, but in my Father in heaven. He says, you, Peter, are the rock in which this church will be built. The keys of the kingdom of heaven are given to you, but not in Mark's version. No, we get a much different response, because Peter, in his announcement of Jesus as the Messiah, just doesn't get it. What he sees is the one who will champion Israel's rise among the nations, usher in that new era of peace and holiness, that the Messiah will be that shining knight in armor coming to save the people. He wants the winner. But when Jesus speaks of the suffering and the death and the resurrection, the stuff that this Messiah will finally be defined by, Peter rejects it. He doesn't want to hear it. That's not the Messiah he had in mind. But the Jesus that he'd been traveling, the way Jesus had carried himself among the people, his actions brushing aside those social and religious norms, reaching out to the marginalized, the unclean, the ostracized. He has already begun to demonstrate this way to the cross. Jesus' invitation to any who would come and follow him, to deny themselves and pick up the cross, it's not a journey to a pity party or a woe is me attitude about the world. It's not a journey of suffering and death because suffering is the good end in it all. The invitation to pick up and carry the cross is not about seeking ways to be persecuted or martyred. Suffering that results from the ways that God's kingdom does not agree with human control is very different from prescribing suffering for its own sake. This call to anyone who become my followers is about shedding the concepts and the powers that have separated us from one another. It's a call to set the table to make sure there's a place for everyone to eat, instead of building walls and closing doors to keep others out. This journey that Jesus invites any and all to walk and bear the cross leads us to the oppressed, calls out the oppressors, joins us to the marginalized, the hungry, the hurting, the invisible. And instead of seeing those people, we find ourselves face to face and hand in hand with brothers and sisters. Who do you say that I am? It's not a question to be answered like you're taking a test, but a life to be shared for the sake of others. So may Jesus' identity be the light for all who seek refuge and love in this world.